So I mentioned that there's the most common form of the 12-bar blues. This is, by the way, this is lesson 53 in the 100 Jazz Violin series. And getting ahead of myself there a little bit. You should know the blues, as I mentioned before already. And any jazz player with their salt should be able to play the blues. It's not too simple for you. Nothing can be ever too simple. You should be able to dig deep and get guttural with this. And I'm going to hold up this. I held up this in the last video, the basic blues, on this lyric sheet I found in my guitar case and wrote with a Sharpie. Here is the much more common and much more accepted 12-bar blues with a few twists. Now, you'll notice this chord is in parentheses. In the second bar, it's a 4 chord. It's optional. And usually the band members would say, give me a 12-bar blues with a quick change. That means in the second bar, it's going to change to the 4 chord. Some people call it a fast 4. It's a little hip lingo you need to know. So otherwise, it could be like before, four of the 1 chord in a row. But often, they'll take this option in the second bar. It's called a quick change or fast 4. Know that and memorize it. So, and you're frowned on if you miss it. It's supposed to be there every time, and you screw it up if people don't look respectfully at you. So the rest is all the same until you're going along and you get to the 5 chord. Now before, the 5 chord lasted for 2 measures. But in this more common version, by the way, this common blues, as I call it, it's my term. Don't get on the bandstand and call it, let's do a common blues. You should just know this is the main standard. The 5 chord jumps down to the 4 chord, which is much more common. This is the main event here that you'll go, when you hear me play it on the piano in a second, you go, oh, that I've heard that a million times. And then the rest is the same until the very last measure. And there's, again, in parentheses, this is an option. This is called the turnaround chord, or sometimes these whole 2 measures are called the turnaround. I've described it before, the 5 chord being the strongest second last chord you can have. It always wants to lead to 1. It wants to lead to 1 because blues is repeated over and over and over. So when that 5 chord is there, there's no question where the beginning was when we had problems here. Remember with the 2 of the 1 chord there and 4 more, 6 of the 1 and 6 bars of it, it's easy to get lost. So let's do this. I want you to add that bass line we tried a couple of videos ago, 1, 1, 3, 5 on each chord. And I'm going to call them out. Here it is again. If you want to do a screenshot of it and save it for yourself, go for it. I'm going to set it over here. So our bass line, if you got your fiddle out, in the key of D, our friendly key of D. Oh, let me get this set up right so it doesn't fall on my fingers. Okay, so D, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 3, 5, 4 chord, G. Right away. Back to 1 for 2 bars. Then the normal 4 chord for 2 bars. Back to 1 chord like before. The 5 chord only for 1 measure. Down to 4. Ah, you've heard that before. The 1 chord. And the 5 chord to turn around. You know exactly where you're at the beginning. The whole band knows where you are when you're at the beginning. Everybody's together and everybody's happy. The band leader is smiling. So memorize that and you'll be able to sit in any jazz jam. Many jazz tunes use a 12-bar blues or default to a 12-bar blues sometimes in the solos, and they'll go back to the song later. There's many uses for this. You should have this memorized and be able to play it. At least the basic thing, and be able to hear it. We'll talk about what to do with the blues in other videos.